solved all the puzzles and we have found out a lot. Hey guys, welcome back to Tell Me Why. In the last part, we figured out the puzzles in the beautiful secret loft room, and also we found out that Marianne had a baby that she lost and she was going to tell us about it. She wrote us a beautiful letter. And there's one last puzzle of the goblin's loot. So let's get into it. Resume. Okay, so we have to figure out what they stole, and I was just about to read this, but we ran out of time on the last part. So, the princess and the two thieves. Once upon a time, in an ancient and deep forest, there lived a wise princess in a big wooden house. The house was built from the strong wood of the forest, and it kept the princess warm and safe. The princess was not a native of the forest, but she never spoke about where she had come from, for it made her cry. She did not have many friends, but that was how she liked it. The forest was big and deep, and many paths led to her house, but not many visitors passed by. The princess was happy to be left alone in the big house in the deep forest. She knew that the forest would provide for her, but that its generosity had to be respected, so she only took what she needed. And for a long time, life was just fine for the princess in the big wooden house. One winter day, when snow blanketed the earth and ice bent the trees low, the wise princess realized that food was disappearing from her house. It was not much at first, only a few fruits and nuts and eggs vanishing during the night. Only a few fruits and nuts and eggs. I feel like I'm going to have to remember that because we have to remember what the goblins stole. Maybe it's the birds, she said, or the mice. And for a time the princess was okay with losing some food, for the winter was long and little creatures needed to eat too. But then small items started to disappear as well. Spoons and plates, forks and knives, and blankets. It was as if every time she was in one part of the house, something disappeared in another room. That can't be birds or mice, said the princess. I think I have a thief. So she went outside to look for traces in the snow and noises in the wind, but there was nothing to be found nor to be heard. That's strange, said the princess. Maybe the thief is hiding inside my house. For many days she hunted, looking behind the curtains and under the bed, in the attic and the chimney, behind the poles and under the carpets, but she found nothing. As she searched, food kept on disappearing night after night. I will make a cake, frowned the princess, a big cake with every egg and fruit and nut I still have, so that I only have one thing to keep my eye on. She spent the whole day making the cake and using everything she had left. The cake she made was so big she could hardly carry it. If I manage to protect the cake, I'll be able to survive the long winter, she said. So, she added a lock to the oven. She kept the big cake safe inside. The next morning, the lock had been opened and the cake had disappeared. At first, the princess cried because that cake was the last of her food until the snow melted. But then she noticed two trails of tiny feet in the spilled flour, and she followed the tracks to a hidden hatch in the floorboards. This is how the princess realized that two tiny thieves were living under the wooden house right below her feet. Okay. So they stole fruits and nuts.
Maybe they took some of
stuff.
the princess's fruit?
And spoons.
What if they took some spoons? Some flour for the cake, maybe?
They didn't steal the flour.
Didn't they take
stole
some
a
of the princess's
blanket.
clothes?
What is this?
Did they steal candy?
I don't think they stole candy.
Or
they
not.
did steal... No, stop.
Did they steal candy?
They stole eggs.
I'm pretty sure they stole some eggs. Actually, I'm not sure.
Did they steal flour too?
Some flour for the cake, maybe?
Okay, maybe not
Or
the
not.
clothes.
Maybe not.
We did
That's it. I always wondered where that drawing went. She said it was her favorite, and then one day it just disappeared.
Oh, you're the best mom in the world, the prettiest princess. Okay, so she had that drawing there. Is there any other things we haven't figured out? Oh, yes, there are. There's still these two things. Huh. Let me think. What should I do first?
The
I'll
crafty
do this
goblin's
one.
good deeds.
Of course, the goblins had to help out the creatures of the forest to pay off their debt to the pelican.
Well, what did they do?
You know, I don't really remember.
They broke open the beehive for the bear. They helped fix the beaver dam.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I'm not sure.
I get it.
Or
Hold
not.
on. Crafty Goblin's good deeds, huh? Hmm. The goblins saved the old beaver. Huh. They saved the beaver, that's what it said.
They
It's in
helped
the
fix the
titles,
beaver
I
dam.
guess. Hug?
They hugged the princess when she was crying.
Did they? Hmm. Makes new friends. Yeah, I think they probably did do that. Okay, so... Huh, what else did they do? Let me see, who else is here? There's the moose and the frog. And is this the muskrat or something?
They had to give nuts to the muskrat. Wait.
The moose teaches the goblins. The moose taught them to fish. Huh. Scratch?
They gave the stalwart moose a good scratch on the back.
I don't know if they did
Or not.
though. I think I'm gonna have to read some more stories. The goblins tricked the muskrat, so I don't think they did anything good for him. Huh. Okay, there's the frog and maybe let me look at the frog. The big frog is punished. Once upon a time, in an ancient and deep forest, there lived a big frog in a small pond. She was no ordinary frog, for she had been given the gift of speech when she saved the princess from the mad hunter. From the morning to the evening, she did everything the other frogs did, except that she knew how to speak. Everybody in the forest could hear her loud voice. And everybody was unhappy with that because she never stopped babbling. She babbled about the hot sun and the too deep pond, about the rain to come and all the delicious flies she had eaten. Across the forest, all the creatures tolerated the endless noise until one day they could not deal with it anymore. They asked the big frog to quiet down. "I can't," said the big frog. "This is what I do. Before the princess kissed me, I croaked all day long, and you all liked that I did. This is the same, except you can understand what I say, and now you find it irritating. But I can't change what I am, can I? Could you?" All the creatures agreed that she was right and that it was rude of them to ask the big frog to stop doing what she had always done. So they returned to their own parts of the forest and let the big frog do what frogs have always done, jumping and talking some more about the too hot sun and the too deep pond, about the rain to come and the delicious flies they have eaten. And for a time it was all right, but in the forest, word travels fast and everyone has a story to tell. The big frog, being who she was, gossiped and gossiped about everything she overheard. She told the bees that the old bear had stolen their precious honey 2 years ago, and she told the beavers that the eagles had stolen their precious wood. She told the deer who had killed her fawn She told the deer who had killed her fawn, and she told the tall spruce who had carved a cuss word into its bark. Once again, everyone in the forest asked Big Frog to keep quiet, for now everyone had a grudge against everyone else. But once again, the Big Frog would not listen. When I was just a frog, you never paid attention to me, and nobody helped me when the Mad Hunter hunted me for sport. This is only a right for a wrong, and I won't stop talking. The fuss went on, and the noise was so loud that the Ice King himself awoke and decided to see what was going on. "Silence!" bellowed the king, and even the Big Frog stopped babbling. Once the forest was quiet again, the Ice King patiently listened to what each and every animal of the forest had to say, until finally he made his mind. "Big Frog, you have abused the gift of speech, for you have only used it to get revenge. Despite knowing that words can be hurtful, you threw them around without caution, and you caused too much trouble." The Big Frog opened her mouth to protest, but the Ice King raised his finger before she could say another word. "Since you received the gift of speech for a good deed, I would not dare to take it away from you. So here's your punishment. I will tell you the biggest of my secrets. It is a secret so powerful and so dangerous that it will frighten you, but if you ever reveal it to anyone..." The Ice King bent down and whispered such potent words in the Big Frog's ear, and the poor creature started to tremble. "Now, go about your business, all of you, and try to forget what the Big Frog told you, for you are all living in the forest and you have nowhere else to go." And this is how the Big Frog irritated the Ice King and how she was punished. Damn it. What do I...
The crafty goblin's good deeds.
Of course, the goblins had to help out the creatures of the forest to pay off their debt to the pelican.
Oh my god, maybe I have to just read the Pelican Story and maybe it'll tell me. Oh my goodness. Once upon a time, the pelican forgives the goblins. Once upon a time, in a deep and ancient forest, there lived a pair of crafty goblins in a cave below a big wooden house. They lived with a wise princess who shared as much food with them as she was able, but it was never quite enough. This left the goblins hungry, very hungry, always hungry. One day, as they were out foraging for food, the pious pelican landed on a rock and dumped a smorgasbord from her beak, which the goblins knew was magic and never emptied. There were king crabs in red, blue, gold, and scarlet, veiny blue shrimp, pink-shelled scallops, oblong brown clams, purple spiny urchins, and even one prickly red sea cucumber. The food just kept coming. They watched as the pelican ate one clam and then took a nap. "Do you think she would mind if we took just a little?" asked one goblin to the other. "Her beak never empties. She won't possibly miss a couple of crabs," said the second, licking her lips. They were agreed, and so they crept over, flitched some crabs and ran. What does that say? They crept over. It doesn't even look like a word. Flicked? I don't know. They took some crabs. The goblins scarfed the crabs, but when they finished, they found that they were still hungry. "She won't miss a handful of shrimp," said one goblin to the other. The goblins scarfed the shrimp, but when they finished, they found that they were still hungry. "Maybe also a few scallops," said one goblin to the other. The goblins scarfed the scallops, but when they were finished, they found that they were still hungry. I think this is a story about when they were shoplifting at Tessa's shop. So they went back for clams, and then urchins, and finally even the sea cucumber. Finally they were not hungry, but there was also nothing left. Just then the pelican woke up. "What happened to my food?" she asked. Unable to lie about it, the goblins confessed their crime. The pelican was dismayed, but she was a charitable-hearted bird, and she could tell the crafty goblins were growing little creatures. "Goblins," said the pious pelican, "I will share my food with you, but you must, in return, follow my example and be as generous with others as I am with you. Take that to heart, and I will have considered your debt paid." "But we have nothing to give," said the goblins. "You have your nimble hands and your crafty brains and your loving hearts," said the pelican. The crafty goblins realized how much they had to give, and for the rest of the day they looked for ways to help the other creatures of the forest. Oh my god, I did need to read this. Ah! Why did I take so long? I'm gonna have to edit out all the me looking through all the other pages. Okay. They found the stalwart moose struggling with an itchy, hard-to-reach spot on his back, and so they climbed up and gave it a good scratching. Next, they helped the old bear who could not get honey out of a narrow beehive. They climbed on top of the tree with the hive and then dropped it, cracking it open. Finally, they found the princess crying over a loss she would not speak about. So they wrapped their little arms around her in a great big hug and stayed until she felt better. When they were done, they returned to the pious pelican. "Did it feel good being as generous as I am?" asked the pelican. "It did," said the goblin. "I'm glad," said the pelican. "We all have problems that we can't solve on our own, but if everyone goes about with generosity in their hearts, then there is always someone on hand to help. But we all must commit to do so, or there may be no one there to help when you need it." This made sense to the goblins, and they thanked the pious pelican for her food and the lesson. Of course, by this time they were hungry again, and that remained an ongoing problem until the day the stalwart moose taught them to fish, but that is another story. And that is how the pious pelican forgave the crafty goblins, and how she taught them charity. Okay, so we helped the moose, the bear, and the princess.
Well, what did they do?
You know, I don't really
the
remember.
moose,
They gave the stalwart moose a good scratch on the back, or not.
the bear,
They broke open the beehive for the bear. They hugged the princess when she was crying. Nailed it.
Yes!
Our lives would have been so different if their
Finally.
friendship hadn't gone to shit.
The Pelican Crossing is a specialty gift boutique located near the O'Shea Glacier, catering to the Gastineau Channel tourists as well as Delos Crossing locals. We specialize in an assortment of high-quality products, from home accessories, handmade souvenirs, to personalized apparel and locally made art. The Pelican Crossing will be the first store to act as a relay between the buzzing arts and crafts scene and customers. In addition to a wide array of novelty handcrafted products, the consumer will enjoy friendly and knowledgeable customer service from Vecchi store co-owner Tessa Vecchi and up-and-coming artist Marianne Ronan. This business plan is prepared to obtain financing in the amount of $20,000 to purchase inventory and to help cover expenses in the first year of operations. In year 1, the Pelican Crossing plans to break even, and in year 2, we plan to generate a moderate profit. Working on the executive summary part of our business plan. What do you think, Tessa? Yeah, because Tessa's the Pelican. They were gonna have a shop together.
The very old beaver's repair list.
That's the story where the princess's house gets damaged by a storm and the animals help her fix it.
Yeah. What did they do to fix it again?
Okay, let's see. Okay, so the beaver. The beaver fixes the house. Once upon a time, in an ancient and deep forest, there lived a wise princess in a big wooden house. One night, a particularly violent storm shook the house. It shook the shingles on the roof and the planks in the walls. It even shook the beams on which the ground stood, blowing the whole thing near to the ground. The princess hid in a closet, fearing the house would come down on her as she slept. In the morning, the house was still standing, but it was badly damaged. The storm had blown shingles off the roof and planks off the walls, and even bent a post upon which the house stood. The first 2 things she could fix, but the last concerned her. "What will I do?" despaired the wise princess, for though she knew many things, she did not know how to fix the big wooden house. Just then, the old bear came by to see if the princess had any trouble in the storm. When he found her nailing planks back into place, he said, "Stop, princess, let me do that for you." "I'm happy to do it," said the princess, "but if you want to help with the roof, you may." When the pair were done with the roof and the walls, they examined the bent support posts. "I could throw my body against it," said the old bear. "I am very large." He stretched up onto his hind legs, being sure the princess could appreciate how very large she was, then charged straight at the post. Okay. He threw his body against it with an impressive thud. The impact moved the post, but too far, and it ended up bent the other direction. Okay. So far they fixed the roof. So let me just
She
do
fixed
that.
the roof shingles.
The wise princess, wait. The beaver
Or not.
didn't help, the bear did that. Okay, let's just do what the beaver did. The wise princess decided more precision was needed. She thought then of the very old beaver, who kept an excellently crafted dam. Perhaps she can help. She went looking for the very old beaver and found the industrious animal hard at work slapping down mud on part of her dam that had been blown apart in the storm. Most of the structure was unharmed because the beaver was very good at building things. The princess knew she had come to the right place. "Beaver," she said, "my house was damaged in the storm. Would you help me fix it?" "I believe I could do that, yes," said the very old beaver, and she paused at fixing her own den to follow the princess. The very old beaver examined the big wooden house and nodded. "It will be an easy fix," she said, and she set about riding the posts with loud slaps of her tail. When she was done, the princess stroked the beaver's head. "Thank you, beaver," she said. "The wind blew the shingles off the roof and the planks off the walls and even bent this post. Now, thanks to you, I still have a home." "Think nothing of it," said the very old beaver, who returned to work on her own den again. Once again. Okay, so she fixed the post. I think
She
that's
slapped the post with her
right?
tail to right.
Yeah. That winter, the very old beaver grew ill, very ill. She was not able to fix her den, nor to gather food. When the princess found out, she set about delivering meals to the beaver. She brought stews of corn and beans, and baskets full of bark and twigs from the beaver's favorite aspen. One day the wise princess noticed that the beaver's den had begun to fall apart. She set about fixing it, and though she was not as talented as the very old beaver, the fix kept the creature warm and dry. "Thank you," said the very old beaver. "Of course," said the princess. "You helped me when the storm blew my house near to the ground. Thanks to you, I still have a home, and I am happy to do the same." The princess continued to nurse the old beaver until the day she came to the dam and the forest was still. No birds sang, no branches rustled, no small things skittered within the underbrush. "Oh," said the princess, staring sadly at the dam, for she knew the old beaver had passed on. "Goodbye, my friend." And that is how the very old beaver saved the big wooden house and how the wise princess repaid her kindness. Who's the beaver? That's so sad. Who's the beaver? Okay, well the roof was fixed. That was the bear.
She fixed the roof shingles.
What is this?
She fixed the planks that. All right.
Yeah, okay, the walls. Okay, alright, we did
Yeah.
it. This must be
That
who
must
the
have been rough on Eddie.
beaver
Yeah,
was.
he doesn't really like to talk about her.
Dear Marianne, you cover your ears every time I try to have this conversation with you, so I thought I'd have a better chance doing this in a letter. I know you don't like saying goodbye, so I'll keep my melancholic rambling short and sweet. I want to thank you with all my heart for taking care of me these past few months. I can't even imagine how exhausting it must have been for you to look after a sick old lady when you have 2 small children at home. I know you want me to keep fighting this disease and hoping for recovery, but it's always been a great strength of mine to know when it's time to let go, and that time has come. I'd like to ask you for one last favor. Please take care of Eddie after I'm gone. My poor boy puts on a brave front ever since his father died, but I know he's in pain. I would be so much more at peace knowing he still has family. Maybe he could teach the kids how to fish. He loves spending time with them. Thank you for the warmth and the peace he brought to my life. Give the kids a kiss for me, will you, Carol? Oh my god, this is Sam's mom. Ah! This game, I swear. It's trying to make me cry. Did I do all of them? No. The old bear's gift for the
old
princess.
bear's gifts for the princess. I'm totally blanking on that story. What did he give her again?
Why don't we open up the book and check?
Okay. The old bear's gifts for the princess. Oh my god, you guys, I almost cried. Jesus Christ. The Bear and the Princess. Here it is. Once upon a time, in the ancient and deep forest, the old bear stood on the bank of the river, swiping at salmon on their way to the spawning grounds. Just as he'd got his paw on a particularly fat one, he heard a woman shouting for help. He considered simply eating his salmon, but then she screamed again, and he lumbered over to investigate. After a short walk, he found the princess clinging to the top of the tree, while a wolf snarled and snapped at the base of the tree. Old Bear would normally not get in the middle of such a situation. After all, as a fellow predator, he understood the wolf's need to hunt. But when he saw the princess, he was struck by her beauty, and he knew he had to help. With a great roar, the bear heaved onto his hind legs, rising to his full height. The wolf snapped and snarled in his direction, but the bear roared again, and the wolf took off into the trees, tail between his legs. I bet Sam was helping her with their father. The old bear fell back down onto all fours and stared up at the princess. She regarded him fearfully. "You can come down," he said. "How do I know you didn't save me just so you could eat me yourself?" asked the princess. "I suppose this is a fair question," admitted the old bear, "but I promise I won't eat you." The princess had no reason to trust the old bear except that he had kind eyes. So she slowly made her way down the tree. When she reached the ground, the bear only watched her, and so she supposed she was not going to be eaten today. "Thank you," she told the old bear. "Of course," he said. "Can I walk with you back to your home?" "Of course," said the princess. And so the princess and the old bear walked together through the forest back to the big wooden house. After that day, the princess would occasionally find gifts from the bear. A fresh-caught salmon, a handful of ripened berries, a newly bloomed bluebell. One spring, when a sudden thaw flooded the path out of the princess's home, Old Bear was there, and she rode his back across the river. The old bear began to think that the princess should be his mate. After all, she had no mate, and she needed one, and he could keep her warm and provide her a much more suitable den and catch fish for her and protect her from wolves. She, in turn, would brush out his fur and pick berries without smooshing half of them, and scratch that one part of his back he couldn't reach, and with how she took care of the goblin, she would be an excellent mother for his cubs. One day the old bear came with a ring of spruce and asked the princess to be his bride. "Oh no, I'm sorry," said the princess. "You are a very good friend, and I appreciate all you've done for me, but I cannot marry you. You're a bear, I'm a princess, it would never work." "Oh!" The old bear was crushed. "Can we still be friends?" he asked. "We will always be friends," said the princess, "but I will never marry you." "Oh, that's so sad. Sam must have asked, oh my god." The old bear and the princess carried on their friendship, and after a year, he tried again to ask her to be his bride. But once again she refused him. This happened 1 year later, and 1 year after that, and then finally the princess said, "Oh bear, you are my dear friend, and I appreciate all you have done for me, but I would sooner you have left me to the wolves than marry you, and that is how it will always be. I have my hands full with 2 goblins who live under my house, and they are all I need." That wounded the old bear deeply, but it was finally enough to stop his proposals. They remained friends, and he continued to give her gifts of fresh salmon and ripe berries and newly bloomed bluebells. But the old bear never again asked the princess to be his bride, much as he might have wanted to. And that is how the princess befriended the old bear, and how she refused him. Oh, that's so sad. Okay, so salmon and fresh bluebells. What is this?
Some roses, maybe?
No.
Maybe not.
Salmon?
Fresh caught salmon?
Yeah, salmon and...
A newly bloomed bluebell?
yes. And berries?
Some honey?
No, berries.
Maybe not. Hazelnuts.
No. Berries.
Or not. A handful of ripe berries?
Yes.
Nice. Man,
Hey, here's another
you had it
letter that's
bad.
gonna try to make us
Couldn't
cry.
let go.
"Sorry for the note under the door like a prison inmate. You okay? I stopped by and rang a couple times this week, but you didn't answer. I could see the light in the hayloft, so I figured you were in, but didn't want to talk. I hope I didn't ruin everything. I know I probably came on kind of strong, but the thing is, I don't know how to talk to a woman like you. You are strong and kind, and you know so much, and it's hard for me to know how to keep up. I guess all that went to my head, but I want you to know I got the message, and I'm gonna get out of your hair now, and there doesn't need to be any bad feelings. We can pass in the street and say hello or not. It's okay. P.S. I noticed your car was leaking, so I put some sealant in there. You might need to take it to the shop, though. Let me know if you want me to come with you because sometimes these guys try to rip you off. If not, no big deal. Sam. Yeah, Sam's in love with her. Hardcore. Okay, did I miss anything else? I got that one. I got that one. I got that one. I got that one. I solved all the puzzles. And we have found out a lot. We really have. Okay,
You
let's
really want to
leave.
go? You sure we've seen everything?
Yeah, we've seen everything.
Either way,
It's a
I'm ready
beautiful
for this to be
room,
over.
though.
Me too.
It really is. Okay guys, I'm gonna end this there. Thank you so much for watching. That was such a beautiful room with just so much information and I don't know, just beautiful stories, and I really love the Book of Goblins and I love the puzzles, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So I'll see you guys in the next part. Bye!